Let's invite President of Northwest University of Politics and Law and the head of China Society for Human Rights Studies, Mr. Fan. Dear scholars, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today we are gathered online to hold the seminar on the protection of human rights in China. Here on behalf of NUPL, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to all of you. Law is also the fundamental way of governance in today's era. President Xi said that the rule of law is the most effective guarantee of human rights. We must strengthen the legal protection of human rights, deepen reforms in the domain of rule of law, and improve the mechanism of human rights protection. Safeguard human rights is the consensus of building rule of law in China and protecting human rights. China's path of human rights protection is guided by rule of law. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, China has always attached great importance to safeguarding human rights through the law. The Constitution of the PRC, adopted by the First National People's Congress, established a special charter to stipulate the basic rights and obligations of citizens, which is including safeguarding human rights. China has concretely practiced and developed at the national level to practice the protection of law since the 18th CPC National Congress. The Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, put people at the very first place, focused on comprehensively modernizing China's governance capacity, and made the strategic national strategy of comprehensively advancing rule of law. And human rights protection is put at the very center in advancing socialist rule of law, which ushered in a new era for human rights protection in China. In the practice of human rights development in China, we have combined the Marxist view of human rights with the actual construction of rule of law in China and with the outstanding traditional culture of China. From the compilation of the Civil Code to the implementation outline of the construction of rule of law government 2021 to 2025, from unswervingly advancing judicial rule of law to comprehensively constructing a rule of law-based society, China has made significant progress in rule of law and in protection of human rights. The basic rights and freedom of the Chinese people have been effectively protected, reflecting the interests of the people, the will of the people, and safeguarding the rights of the people and enhancing the well-being of the people. So this has been practiced in all the different fields and the entire process of human rights protection. This is exploring a path of human rights protection that is suitable to China's conditions. It has also added to the diversity of human rights protection in the whole world. According to President Xi, there is no one-size-fits-all human rights protection approach, and there is no best, only better human rights protection. It is hoped that today's delegation meeting can enable the international community to have a more comprehensive understanding of China's efforts in human rights protection, its difficulties and challenges encountered. Through sincere dialogue and exchanges, we wish to share the experience of protection of human rights. Last but not least, I wish this conference a resounding success. I look forward to all the friends visiting China and Shanxi province one day and also paying a visit to NUPL for studies and exchanges.
谢谢大家，各位嘉宾学者、国际友人，大家好。今天我们在线上隆重聚会，召开人权法律保障的中国经验中方辩会。在此，我谨代表西北政法大学向各位参会嘉宾。
Please allow me to do a quick translation. Distinguished guests, experts, and friends abroad, good afternoon. Today we have a grand gathering, both online and offline, for a side conference on China's experience in the legal protection of human rights. On behalf of the Northwest University Political Science and Law, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all the guests attending to the conference and also express my sincere thanks to all of you for your long-time attention, support, and help given to our university. The rule of the law is a symbol of a human civilization and progress, and it's the basic method to govern a modern society. President Xi Jinping has emphasized that the rule of law is the most effective way to protect systematically human rights, and that we must stress the rule of law to protect human rights, deepen reforms in the field of the rule of law, and improve the mechanism for guaranteeing human rights under the rule of law. Protecting human rights in accordance with the law is a basic consensus for the development of human rights. To develop human rights is one based on the rule of law. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, China has attached great importance to protecting human rights by the rule of law. The Constitution of the People's Republic of China, adopted by the First National People's Congress, has a special chapter to stipulate the basic rights and obligations of citizens. And the principle of respecting and protecting human rights has long been adhered to, fully implemented, and constantly developed in concrete practice at the level of the overall legal protection of the state. In the practice of promoting the development of China's human rights cause, we have combined the Marxist concept of human rights with the practical construction of legal institutions in China, and the excellent Chinese traditional culture, from the compilation of the civil code to the full practice of the implementation on outline for the construction of the law-based government, from unswervingly advancing the reform of the judicial system to comprehensively promoting the construction of society under the rule of law. China has made great progress in protecting human rights under the rule of law. The basic rights and freedom of Chinese people have more effectively protected, and the whole process of comprehensively governing the country according to the law has been implemented in all areas, paving a way to develop human rights that conforms to the current universal trend, as well as China's present condition in the whole. Chinese practice has enriched and fostered the diversity of human rights civilization in the world. President Xi Jinping has emphasized that there's no one-size-fits-all path for human rights development in the world, and there's no best but only better human rights protection. It is hoped that today's side conference will enable the international community to gain a more objective and comprehensive understanding of China's efforts, achievements, difficulties, and challenges in advancing cause of human rights, and to share with each other their experience in advancing the cause of human rights through sincere dialogues. Finally, I wish this conference a great success and look forward to friends abroad coming to China, coming to Xi'an, Shanxi, and coming to Northwest University Political Science and Law to study and research. Thank you very much.
感谢潘老师的这样一个同声的一个翻译
Thank you very much
接下来
to
呢，
Mr.
我们
Peng
今
for
天呢
his
一共有
translation.
线上线
We
下我们一共
have
有8位
altogether
发言
8
嘉宾
speakers
首先有
online
请我们今天
and
的
present
第一位
here.
发
May I
言嘉宾
give the first speaker today?
还是我们的潘老师啊
Mr. Pan,
Professor 潘俊武有请潘老师
now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. My topic is China's approach to have a better life, a fish or a fishing rod, or both. There's a Chinese proverb which says that given people a fish and you only provide them with one meal to teach them to fish, and they can benefit throughout their lives. This term expresses the idea that giving away a fish is not as good as teaching one how to fish. The meaning is that rather than giving something away, it's better to teach the method of obtaining it so that the people can get what they need through their own lives, their own efforts. It implies that once objective is established, the method of achieving it becomes most important, and that the effective way of helping and managing people in the long term is to encourage them to be self-supporting. In short, giving a man in need is a fish rod is better than just giving him a fish. The proverb implies a philosophy and beyond in Chinese people's improvement of their living standards. In 2017, Chinese President Xi Jinping pointed out that the principal contradiction in the new era is a contradiction between unbalanced and inadequate development and the people's ever-growing needs for a better life. A better life is the main goal for today's Chinese people. To realize the goal, Chinese philosophy indicates fish and the fishing rod are equally important. What is the fish? Reinforce the groundwork for human rights. The human rights are the foundation of a good governance. China has always been committed to respecting, protecting, and advancing human rights and increasing people's sense of fulfillment, happiness, and security. The route to moderate prosperity has reinforced the groundwork for human rights, providing a solid material foundation for protecting and developing human rights. In the process of building a moderately prosperous society, China has maintained its commitment to the new development philosophy. The economy has achieved long-term rapid growth, and the basic needs for over 1 billion people have been met. The urban-rural divide has been resolved, and the income distribution profile has been reformed to improve living standards. Targeted poverty reduction and eradication has achieved success, stressing protection of all vulnerable groups. A social security system covering all the people is in place, with better medical services and a higher overall level of health. Public cultural services have improved. Free compulsory education has been realized in both urban and rural areas. An efficient and ubiquitous information network has been set up, with accelerated efforts to build an eco-civilization. A basic national policy of environmental protection has been implemented. Measures to prevent and control pollution have intensified, and the eco-environment has notably improved. In a moderately prosperous society, so economic, political, social, culture, and environmental rights are more equitable and more easily accessible to all people to ensure equal rights to participation and development in all fields. What is the fishing rod? China's latest push to promote high-quality development of vocational education will help more and more people to master some skills to better their life. In a guideline released on October 12, 2021, China spelled out a set of policy measures aimed at beefing up support for vocational schools and improving the quality of a skill-focused education. The guidelines set out a target, including establish a modern vocational education system nationwide by 2025, by which time vocational schools are expected to have seen a sharp improvement in schooling condition, attractiveness to students, and the quality of training offered. By 2035, China's vocational education system is expected to be ranked the most competitive globally, with supply matching the demand from social and economic growth. The policy document came on the heels of a slew of official measures aimed at spurring the development of vocational education in recent years. The guideline was released because China desperately needs to increase its pool of professionals, especially in the manufacturing sector. Constitutions are encouraged to create more majors that will fit market demand and reduce those where graduates face difficulty in finding jobs. To elevate the quality of education at the vocational schools, the document called for bolstering training of professional skills and academics, saying that eligible vocational schools will be allowed to set out the community colleges. China will prioritize support for a host of high credible institutions and professions and take steps to promote the development of undergraduate education. An official with the Ministry of Education said in a statement after the release that the latest policy measures are aimed at showing up the status of vocational education and encouraging more workers, especially among the younger generation, to become skilled professionals. The official said that a major highlight of the document is that it seeks coordinated vocational education and general education and promote the integrated development of different education types. To promote the popularity of vocational education, the government will encourage schools offer rudimentary knowledge of vocational education to primary and secondary school students. The official said, adding that the authority will enable the mutual recognition of academic credits between vocational schools, high schools, and application-oriented colleges. China has already developed the world's largest vocational education system with 11,500 institutions and over 28 million students by the end of 2019, according to the Ministry of Education. Vocational schools offering courses in 1,200 professions train about 10 million professionals each year. Another crucial step is to develop a more tiered vocational education system that offers higher levels of degrees so that students can progress through academic ranks. Vocational schools could start offering postgraduate degrees in the next 5 years. A fish and a fishing rod are important for a better life equally. To solve the problem of poverty at the very beginning, it's necessary to give a fish, namely securing the right to food for the poor, ensuring safe drinking water for the poor, providing compulsory education in poor areas, providing essential medical service for the poor, ensuring the safe housing for the poor. For a better life, it's necessary to guarantee the right to education. The Chinese government runs education for the public good and regards equal access to education as a basic national education policy. It has made significant progress in protecting the right to education. More than 95% of children with a disability receive compulsory education. The state has established a policy system for subsidizing students with financial difficulty, which offers a full coverage from preschool to postgraduate education. As a result, the goal of ensuring that no student drops out of school due to financial difficulty has now been largely achieved. The state gives more support to education in rural areas and the central and the western regions. Thanks to this, 96.8% of the counties nationwide has realized a balanced compulsory education, and more children in rural area and the central and western region enjoying better access to quality education. The gross enrollment rate in sincere secondary education increased from 42.8% in 2000 to 91.2% in 2020, higher than the average of upper middle income countries. The gross enrollment rate in higher education rose from 12.5% in 2000 to 54.4% in 2020. China has built the world's largest higher education system with over 40 million students on campus. Thank you. That is what I want to say.
Thank you. 谢谢。谢谢潘老师啊。
Thank you very much, Professor Pan. Now let's give the floor to our second speaker.
也是我们西北政法大学的新闻传播学院的副院长、副教授啊
The International Communication College of NUPL, Professor Guo Miao.
Good afternoon, distinguished experts and friends from media. Today, I'm going to make a speech on the miracle of desertification control of once barren, now green desert, China's experience in controlling sand and protecting environmental human rights. Land desertification, also known as the cancer of the earth, sounds far away from our lives, but it causes serious consequences. Dust storms, reduced food production, and water shortages, etc. China is one of the countries with the most serious desertification, and the following data can explain a lot. Now, I would like to use a story of an ordinary farmer in China to introduce Chinese experience in desertification control. His name is Shi Guangyin, born on the southern edge of the Maowusu Desert in northwest China. In the Mongolian language, Maowusu means land without grass. Residents in Shi's hometown had long been plagued by heavy winds, floating sand, and barren land, mainly due to the Maowusu Desert. The wind and sand at an alarming rate swallowed the farmland and the villagers per year. Planted crops were either blown down by the wind or buried by the sand. At that time, the phrase, "the ground is potholed, the hay lofts are in shambles, and every family is poor," is used to describe the living conditions before 1950. Shi's father had to move his family 9 times to escape the sand. Witnessing the sand attack on his home made him aspire to control sand from a young age. And at the age of 20, he joined the CPC and was later elected as a team leader. While fighting desertification, Shi had also tried to help families in straitened circumstances and bring benefits to local residents. And he realized that once trees can be planted, the sand will be controlled, and the crops will not be encroached by sand. Villagers can have food to eat and live a good life. At the beginning of 1984, after China rolled out policies to encourage individuals to sign contracts with the government to combat desertification, she entered into a contract with the local government for desertification control of 3,500 acres of land and set up China's first farmers' joint stock sand control company. In 1985, he continued to contract 58,000 acres of barrens in order to find people who are willing to work with him. He posted a recruiting poster in front of the state-owned grocery. Luckily, 127 farmers from Ningxia in the Mongolian and Shanxi joined him. Due to the lack of technology and experience, their tree planting plans failed in 1986 and 1987. In the spring of 1988, after acquiring and adopting scientific methods, Shi and his team set up 800 kilometers of sand-protecting barriers and eventually brought the survival rate of the sampling they planted above 90%. Since then, Shi has been firmly believed that planting trees to control sand will be helpful. Over the decades, He has contracted to manage 250,000 acres of desert sand and wasteland and planted more than 53 million trees, making him the first Chinese citizen to be awarded the honor of National Hero of Desertification Control. He, working with his son and grandson, is also called Ranger in the Desert. In China, there are also heroes like him, such as Mr. and Mrs. Niu Yuqin, Zhang Yinglong, who are willing to devote to the cause of afforestation and sand control. Today's Maozu Desert has seen a grass and forest coverage of nearly 80%, extending Shanxi's green map 400 kilometers to the north, which has been a Chinese miracle of making barrens into an oasis. Since 1978, the local government has implemented the 3 North Shelter Forest Program, Returning Farmland to Forest Program, Natural Forest Protection Program, Beijing-Tianjin Sandstorms Controlling Projects, and made a holistic approach to the conservation of mountains, rivers, forests, farmlands, lakes, and grasslands, making 8.6 million acres of quicksand all fixed or semi-fixed. This project has not only created an ecological miracle, but also created social, industrial, and economic benefits. Data has shown that Yulin City has built 16 suburban forests and ecological parks, as well as 6 nature reserves. The number of sand and dust weather per year has been reduced from more than 100 days to 10 days, and the habitat and living environment has been improved significantly. Similar miracles are happening in other parts of China. The Ulanbuhe Desert in Inner Mongolia was once called Red Bone. Now it has become home to cows and a green canteen. Nearly 100,000 cows are living in Ulanbuhe Desert, providing more than 1,000 tons of organic milk every day, which has become the world's largest organic raw milk production base. The Kubchi Desert was once a restricted area. Nowadays, plants such as willow, popular firewood, and the sea buckthorn are planted here. Fruits such as banana, fig, and dragon fruit can also be grown here. Since 2014, the Yellow River has been introduced to the Kubchi Desert to form a new oasis, and crabs are even raised here, making it a global desert ecological economy demonstration zone recognized by the UN Environment Program. Akasu region of Xinjiang is located at the northern edge of the Taklamakan Desert, and the desert is only 6 kilometers away from the Akasu city and is approaching the city at a rate of 5 meters per year. In order to protect people's living environment from the sandstorm, since 1978, Akasu city has making a cumulative 22 million acres of afforestation. The satellite remote sensing image maps in the Akasu Memorial Hall clearly record the change of Akasu City from desert to oasis, with the participation of 3.9 million citizens in Akasu, which has become a model for desert greening in the world. China has not only realized the historic transformation of making once barren desert now green, but has also created a pattern of sand control and prevention with Chinese characteristics that is also in line with the national and the local conditions. The Chinese government has been making efforts to meet people's growing needs for a beautiful ecological environment through its environmental policies and legislation. Taking desertification control as an example, China has introduced a series of guiding opinions, regulations, and relevant laws. President Xi Jinping has stressed that a good eco-environment is a basic public good and offers most inclusive well-being. Today, China has regarded the harmonious development between human beings and nature as a new paradigm for realizing and safeguarding the people's right to development, and contributed China's discourse and experience to meeting people's needs for a beautiful ecological environment through the ever-improving legal construction. That's all. Thanks for your attention.
感谢郭老师啊。
Thank you very much, Professor Guo. She shared a story about fighting desertification. And she mentioned a person called Shi Guangyan, who is from Shanxi province. Next time, if you are in Shanxi, you can pay a visit to him. He's also a deputy to the National People's Congress. Our next speaker comes from Malaysia. Dr. Vincent, who is the dean of the School of Business from a Malaysian university. Vincent, now the floor is yours.
Vincent, 是不是？ 没开声音还是没开图片？好了啊，开始。
Thank you for hosting me. Good afternoon, everyone. The topic of my is about overview of sustainable development goals and climate action in the Asia perspective. For this one, I will look into regional and sub-regional progress regarding the SDGs and climate actions status in Asia, means of implementation to deliver on the global agendas, and last, about the good practices that we go about it. Let me show you the amazing facts of Asia. Home of more than 50% of world's population are located in Asia. Out of 10, 3 of them are the largest economic belong to Asia, specifically in China, Japan, India, and the rest more. Some shocking statistics for Asia and Pacific regions. For food, 512 million undernourished life in Asia. For the water, nearly 1.7 billion people in the Asia and Pacific region do not have access to improved drinking water, based on the UNESCO. And nearly 420 million people have no access to modern form of energy. What is the progress of SDG, Sustainable Development Goals implementation? Where are we now? From 2000 up to 2030, we are aligned with all the SDG. So, along with the SDG 1, no poverty, 2, zero hunger, SDG 3, good health, 4, quality education, 5, gender equality, 6, water, 7, energy, 8, decent work and economic growth, 9, industry, innovation in infrastructure, 10, reduce inequalities, 11, sustainable cities, 12, responsible consumption and production, 13, climate action, 14, life below water, 15, life on land and peace and justice. This to accelerate progress in the 37 targets area, whereby the screen that I share with you all, mostly with regarding the international poverty, spending on essential services, prevalence and nourishing, prevalence of stunning and malnutrition. The highlighted in the green color and also the domestic material consumption, material footprint, economic loss from disaster, urban slum population. What is the perspective of Asia Pacific region has to address stall and reverse progress in the progress? So based on the G8, 9, 10, 13, and 15 is about the real GDP per capita growth. This is the summary of SDG dashboard for sub-region of Asia. From here, you will see the North and Central Asia covers and also the need to maintain the current progress rate based on the specific areas over here. Some of the key points of Paris Agreement on mitigation. First, keep global warming well below 2 degrees Celsius in all efforts to limit rise temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial level. Second, developed countries will continue take lead of the reduction, and developed countries are encouraged to enhance efforts. From 2050 onwards, rapid reduction to achieve carbon neutral development. Asia accounts 45% of total global emission. It covers the biggest number. Therefore, Asia's contribution would be significant to achieve global mitigation target. The status of nationally determined contribution in Asia, mostly in the part of the Asia itself. Out of the 24 countries, 22 of them set up mitigation targets. Basically, first, India, mitigation target reduction of emission intensity from by 33 to 35 up to by 2030. Clean energy target, 40% cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel-based energy resources by 2030. Indonesia, for example, 29% unconditional reduction by 2030, and with support of international cooperation contribution will reach up to 41%. No specific target on clean energy or renewable energy or non-fossil fuel. For example, another one, Mongolia, expected emission reduction is 14% by 2030 and no specific target on clean energy. And also last but not least, Vietnam, 8% unconditional reduction by 2030, and with support of international cooperation contribution will reach up the 25%. Based on the review results on the 92 climate actions aligned with 154 of the 190 SDG target. Most of it are the goal number 1, no poverty, 7 out of the 7 targets achieved. Goal number 2, zero hunger, 7 out of the 8 targets achieved, and the rest will be good in health and well-being. What is the process next? SDG and the non-implementation plans need to be well integrated to capture the synergy and minimize trade-off. In SDG 2030 agenda, globally defined universal goals and target, and also being localization, the process, and also based on the Paris Agreement. So the both will interrelated, the implementation plan. What is the next thinking and the debate are gaining attention in policy, especially in the academic cycles. From year 1983 to up to the 2017, we can see the progress and whereby all the corporations are aligned with the nexus thinking, and the debate are gaining attention in more and more policy created. Some of the conceptual framework of resource nexus whereby the synergy is aligned with the energy, food, and water consumption. But in the EU itself, in the 2012, whereby energy, land, water, and the extra. Next, water, food, and energy security are not in an isolated nexus, but in most Asia, agriculture accounts for more than 33% of the water withdrawals. And water security and the food security is interrelated with the energy security. In line with the 3 main SDG, water, energy, and food security, investment in the end hunger, multinational, and also the drinking water, and also under the SDG 7. Next, the trade-off relationship within the cause, effect, and the synergetic relationship within the responsibility and the relationship target for the SDG 7 are stated in the slides here. And also, I would like to pay your attention about the interlinkage of food, water, and energy targets at here. Based on the SDG 6 and also the SDG 2, clean water and sanitation, and also the no hunger. In total, 118 interactions among the target of SDG 2, 6, 7 are aligned. Here, the dependency on the SDG 2, 7 targets are for the stakeholder perception. This is the correlationship among the relevant target taken in India, for example. The failure to realize interrelationship leads to conflicts. For example, in Madhya Pradesh, power cuts was made to alleviate the water shortage in the region in 2006. Pali thermal power plant in Maharashtra was shut down because of severe water shortage in the Marathwada region in 2013. Next, in Kerala, for example, power cuts ordered to deal with water scarcity in 2008 when monsoon rainfall was only reduced 65% and so on. What we can see here, accelerate resources consumption in the urbanized future is certain from a while ago, now, and also in the future. Integrated urban planning is critical to realize the synergies between the SDGs and the climate change agenda. So next, urban access as the mean of the implementation global agenda. So from the shift from linear economy to circular economy, and also to promote cross-sectoral integration, and also the strengthen institution, collaborative governance, and build capacity to integrate planning and management. Urban water reclamation and resource recovery are key opportunities. Linking water, energy, and food, maximizing potential of synergy of SDG and climate agenda. Next, conservation of water and energy through more closed loops and improving adaptive capacity of each cities. This is the interrelation closing the resource loops in city for realizing the synergetic interrelationship. Applying this concept, energy requirement and carbon footprint is required. Second, wastewater as a resources for everything, and integration of natural treatment processes also enhance the economical and ecology aspects. Case study, reuse of treated wastewater for cooling and Pragati power plant based in India. Next will be the introducing the energy efficient water pumping system in Ho Chi Minh. However, the challenges from here, increasing water demand due to rapid population growth. Supplying water needs large amount of electricity. The solution is effective pump operation has been improved by introducing the inverter control pumping system and based on the international collaboration. As a result, more effective operation of water pump and reduce the energy consumption and expected carbon dioxide emission reduction of 1,043 tons per year. The need for multi-level, multi-stakeholder governance to promote nexus approach from the international level up down to the national and the local, and within the horizontal coordination is to get the stakeholder engagement within the academia, business, and civil society. So to end my presentation here, I echo the motivation word from Robert Frost. I shall be telling this with a sight somewhere edges and edges hands. Two roads diverge in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the differences. With this, I concluded my presentation for today. Thank you very much for hosting me. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Vincent, for your presentation. Thank you for talking about the sustainability goals in Asia. This is a very interesting presentation. Thank you very much. I hope that one day we can travel to the Sagi University of Malaysia, and I also welcome you to pay a visit to our university or visit. Our next speaker is my colleague, Dr. Jia, who will speak on a very important issue related to counterterrorism.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yang Bowen from Human Rights Research Center in our university. And firstly, I want to extend my sincere thanks to the UN Human Rights Council and the site event organizers for providing this platform. Today, I'm here to discuss how our Constitution guides our fight against terrorism. In our world today, terrorism is a big problem that affects all countries, threatening our safety and future growth. China is working hard to keep the country safe and protect everyone's lives and properties. We also make sure to respect human rights while doing this. We're building laws for fighting terrorism that match our Constitution's values and respect human rights. Under our Constitution, national security and human rights protection are seen as the Constitution, but also key to advancing society and looking after our citizens' welfare. A close look at our Constitution shows clear rules and principles about these two important areas. Firstly, on national security, our Constitution demands that defending the country's sovereignty, unity, and territory is every citizen's sacred duty. This principle underlies national security as a top legal priority, laying the groundwork for our fight against terrorism. It points out that keeping the state safe from terrorism is crucial for our citizens' normal lives and social stability. Secondly, our Constitution is just as committed to human rights, ensuring citizens have many fundamental rights. These rights are not only stated in theory, our laws and courts protect them in practice. In fighting terrorism, the Constitution Our fight against terrorism, especially through the anti-terrorism law, is deeply rooted in our Constitution. These laws not only follow our Constitution's goals of national security and human rights protection, but also show our commitment to the rule of law when dealing with terrorism. The anti-terrorism law outlines with respect set on the fundamental rights. To reach this goal, the global community our country has actively joined international efforts to fight terrorism, collaborating with other nations and international bodies. In this effort, China has been careful to balance its counterterrorism work with protection of human rights, making sure our actions align with both our national laws and international commitments. In our international collaborations, China calls for a fair and reasonable global counterterrorism approach. We are against associating terrorism with any particular ethnic groups or religions, aiming to prevent discrimination and bias in counterterrorism efforts, ensuring full respect and protection for human rights. In conclusion, I want to highlight that our country has always followed our constitution in the approach to counterterrorism, with a strong focus on protecting human rights. Our constitution and legal framework efforts, ensuring that while we work to protect national security, the fundamental rights of our people are respected. We aim to deepen our collaboration with partners both within our own country and around the world to promote the global protection of human rights while combating terrorism. By sharing our experiences, learning from each other and working together, we can face the challenges of terrorism more effectively. Together towards a world that is secure and respects human rights.
大家知道，恐怖主义真的是我们人类的头号天敌啊。出了非常卓有成效的努力啊，我们不仅打击恐怖犯罪，还对恐怖犯罪中间的受害者尤其是我们的这个犯罪分子的这个帮教转化做了大量的工作，实际上已经得到了国际社会的普遍认可啊。好，我们下一位的发言人呢是我们的大洋彼岸的这中国叫大洋彼岸，是来自我们美国的 一位学者啊，方强教授啊，他是美国华人社会科学教授学会的主席啊，目前是美国明尼苏达大学的教授啊，有请 Professor 方强。
Okay, I don't know how to say it. That's good morning or good evening because here it's the morning. So, dear host, delegates, and all participants, first I would like to thank the Human Rights Council of the United Nations for offering such an invaluable opportunity to discuss and exchange important issues on the legal protection of human rights. I'm deeply honored to be here in the dynasty and the Republican period. The judicial reform in 1952 abandoned all Western laws and the judicial systems and replaced them with a socialist judicial system, resulting in a lack of judicial independence, arbitrary judgments and punishments, and the damage. In the wake of the tragic and arguably lawless Cultural Revolution, many Chinese leaders who had been attacked during the Cultural Revolution, such as Deng Xiaoping and Peng Zhen, determined to launch the third judicial reform after 1978, which restores professional judges and lawyers, abolishes torture, and promulgates hundreds of important new laws, including civil law, criminal law, judge law, administrative law, as well as important laws such as civil procedure law and criminal procedure law. By 2003, the National People's Congress alone had enacted 430 laws and regulations. The State Council and the Local People's Congress had passed 909,000 laws and regulations respectively. In addition, about 69% of laws passed by the National People's Congress have been amended at least once, and 19% of laws have been amended at least twice. After the reform kicking off, China's professional judges and lawyers have grown rapidly and play an important role in protecting human rights. For example, in 1979, there were only 58,000 judges in the country, but by 1997, the number had ballooned to 250,000. The lawyer system, which virtually disappeared after 1957, had only a small number of licensed lawyers in 1979. But by 1992, the number of lawyers reached 50,000. In the early 21st century, there were more than 200,000 practicing lawyers in China. In 1989, the National People's Congress enacted the Administrative Procedure Law, which created a legal basis to protect the people's legal rights against official infringements. More important, the 1982 Constitution restored many citizens' rights and obligations stipulated in the 1954 Constitution. In 1997, President Jiang Zemin pronounced for the first time that China would construct the rule of law. In the 1999 constitutional amendment, constructing the rule of law was formally written into the Constitution. This is not only in line with the prerequisite for China to join the WTO and building a market economy, but also shows that the Chinese government has reconsidered judicial independence and legal rights and the interests of citizens. After Sun Zhigang died in forced detention in 2003 without a temporary residence permit, the National People's Congress speedily abolished the detention and reparation system to protect citizens' legal rights from the abuse of law enforcement. From 1980 to 2010, China's major newspapers, such as the China Youth Daily and the Legal Daily, had published numerous law-related articles to help improve citizens' legal consciousness. On the one hand, the reports improved the citizens' consciousness in safeguarding their legal rights. On the other, by exposing and criticizing the illegal activities of law enforcement agencies and governments, the reports could surveil and prevent public power from violating citizens' human rights. There is no doubt that the latest judicial reform after 1978 has not been thoroughly implemented, and many older legal problems remain, including law violations perpetrated by the government and local law enforcement agencies, arbitrary rulings by judges, and defects in administrative litigations, which have neutralized the legal rights and the interests of many citizens. A few years ago, in one case occurring in Guizhou, where local officials abused their power and arbitrarily arrested a female entrepreneur. This female entrepreneur has completed many construction projects for the Liupanshui municipal government in Guizhou since 2016, and the municipal government owed her 220 million yuan. She had repeatedly asked the government for paying the debt, but the local police arrested her in late 2023 on charges of picking quarrels and provoking troubles. This case shows that China's legal protection of human rights remains unsatisfactory, especially in some remote provinces and cities. Furthermore, we should note that the legal protection of human rights has different standards and requirements across the world. In the George Floyd case that played out in Minnesota in 2021, we can see that even in the United States, where human rights protection is relatively more matured and complete, police abuse of power still exists. By deepening its judicial reform, China will only engage in more exchanges and cooperation with countries that have better legal protection of human rights, but also continue to improve its legal protection of civil rights. In addition, through academic exchanges, legal research, and human rights dialogue, China and Western countries like the United States can enhance their mutual understanding and collaborate in seeking the best practices of protecting human rights. International human rights standards and commonly concerned global human rights issues such as immigration law or immigration rights and environmental protection also provide a platform for cooperation between the two countries. With more comparisons and exchanges, China and the United States will be able to deepen their mutual understanding of human rights protection. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to appreciate the organizers and all participants once again. Through our joint efforts and exchanges, we will not only enhance our understanding of the process in the legal protection of human rights, but also pave the way for our future cooperation and improvement. 45 years after China's reform and open policy, China has made progress in legal protection of human rights. In the meantime, today's dialogue among scholars from different countries helps us see the differences in concepts and practices among different parties. These differences both pose challenges and offer opportunities for our common progress. So long as China and the United States continue their dialogue and cooperation and learn from each other with an open and inclusive mind, both countries can help promote the legal protection of human rights around the world. Thanks again to everyone for listening and participating. I look forward to continuing this innovative and encouraging conversation with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Fang. 特别感谢啊，方教授。首先回应一下你，我们这里现在是 afternoon 啊，但是马上就要 evening 了，是这么个时间。也是感谢您对我们中国啊，因为您本身在中国出生长大又求学，然后呢，现在呢又在美国从事教职啊，所以您对中美的很多情况都很熟悉啊，也希望您这个感谢对中国尤其是改革开放45年以来的这个人权法律保障的工作的肯定，也期待您对中美两个国家民间学界的友好继续努力啊，感谢方教授。
谢谢马老师邀请啊，谢谢啊。 好的，各位。
我们接下来这位发言者啊，是一个也是在我们中国武汉大学就读的啊，目前正在读的博士研究生啊，是来自我们的 Friend of Africa 啊，her name 啊，我不知道我读的准不准确啊，Anna Tamik 啊，她有一个中文名字her Chinese name is 何小娜啊，最近啊，正是在斋月期间啊，也把这个最好的祝福啊送给我们穆斯林的这个小娜同学啊，有请啊我们武汉大学的博士研究生啊何小娜发言。
好，谢谢马老师，女士们、先生们 ，Ladies and gentlemen, Mesdames et messieurs. Aujourd'hui, je me tiens devant vous en tant qu'observateur étranger profondément intrigué par le parcours de réforme et d'ouverture de la Chine au cours des 45e dernières années, notamment en ce qui concerne le développement et les réalisations de la protection juridique des droits de l'homme. Alors que nous nous lançons dans cette exploration, je vous invite à me joindre dans un voyage complet qui couvre les complexités, les défis et les triomphes de l'évolution des droits de l'homme en Chine, guidé par bien sûr mes observations et mes idées en tant qu'étrangère. Donc, pour juste introduire, je peux dire que la transformation de la Chine au cours des 45e dernières années est tout simplement extraordinaire. Depuis le début de la réforme et de l'ouverture en 1978 jusqu'à son statut actuel de deuxième économie mondiale, le parcours de la Chine a été marqué par une croissance économique, des progrès sociaux et des réformes juridiques sans précédent. Autant qu'observateur étranger, je suis frappée par la capacité de la Chine à s'adapter, à innover et à surmonter les défis sur la voie du développement. L'une des réalisations les plus remarquables de la réforme que je trouve bien sûr est de l'ouverture de la Chine et sa capacité à sortir des millions de personnes de la pauvreté. Grâce à des politiques ciblées, des investissements dans les infrastructures et la promotion de l'entrepreneuriat, la Chine a réalisé des progrès remarquables dans la réduction de la pauvreté, améliorant la vie de millions de personnes et contribuant à la réalisation des droits humains fondamentaux tels que l'accès à la nourriture, au logement et à l'éducation. Cet engagement en faveur d'un développement inclusif souligne l'engagement de la Chine à promouvoir la dignité humaine et bien sûr le bien-être. Si je parle bien sûr des réformes juridiques et la protection des droits de l'homme, les efforts de la Chine pour renforcer son cadre juridique visant à protéger les droits de l'homme sont louables. La promulgation de la Constitution en 1982 a marqué une étape importante affirmant des principes tels que l'égalité, la liberté de l'État de droit. Donc, les réformes juridiques ultérieures ont encore renforcé la protection des droits individuels, notamment le droit à un procès équitable, la liberté d'expression et les droits de propriété. La création de cours et de tribunaux spécialisés dédiés au traitement des questions de droits de l'homme démontre l'engagement de la Chine à faire respecter l'état de droit et à garantir la responsabilité. De plus, l'engagement de la Chine dans les mécanismes internationaux des droits de l'homme reflète son engagement à respecter les normes mondiales et à participer de manière constructive au discours mondial sur les droits de l'homme. La ratification par le pays de nombreux traités et conventions internationaux démontre sa volonté de respecter les normes internationales et de contribuer à l'avancement des droits de l'homme dans le monde. Cependant, je suis également consciente des défis et des critiques qui persistent en matière de protection des droits de l'homme en Chine. Les préoccupations concernant la liberté d'expression, la liberté religieuse et les droits des minorités continuent de susciter un examen bien sûr minutieux et des débats autant au niveau national qu'international. Autant qu'étrangère, il est essentiel pour nous d'aborder ces questions avec humilité, empathie et bien sûr, je peux dire que ceci constitue un véritable désir pour comprendre les complexités du contexte historique, culturel et politique de la Chine. En outre, il est important de reconnaître le contexte culturel et historique unique dans lequel la Chine opère, autant que l'une des plus anciennes civilisations du monde. La Chine possède un riche ensemble de traditions, de valeurs et de systèmes de gouvernance qui façonnent son approche des droits de l'homme. L'accent mis sur l'harmonie sociale, le bien-être collectif et le progrès progressif reflète une perspective unique profondément enracinée dans la culture chinoise. Ben, si je peux donner mon point de vue, je peux dire que je suis profondément intriguée par le parcours de réforme et d'ouverture de la Chine et par ses efforts pour renforcer la protection juridique des droits de l'homme, même si ces défis subsistent, notamment dans des domaines tels que la liberté d'expression et les droits des minorités. Les progrès de la Chine sont indéniables. L'engagement du pays en faveur de la réduction de la pauvreté, du développement économique et de la réforme juridique témoigne de sa résilience, de sa capacité d'adaptation et de son dévouement à la promotion de la dignité humaine et du bien-être. J'espère à l'avenir que probablement la Chine va continuer de s'engager avec la communauté internationale et de favoriser le dialogue et aussi répondre aux préoccupations afin d'assurer la protection et la promotion des droits de l'homme pour tous ses citoyens. En conclusion, je peux dire que l'expérience de la Chine dans le développement et les réalisations de la protection juridique des droits de l'homme au cours des 45e dernières années est un voyage aux multiples facettes caractérisé par des progrès, des défis et des opportunités. Et bien sûr, je suis inspirée par la résilience, l'adaptabilité et l'engagement de la Chine en faveur de la dignité humaine, de la justice sociale et du développement durable. Bien, continuons à soutenir et à dialoguer avec la Chine alors qu'elle affronte les complexités de la protection des droits de l'homme et œuvre en faveur d'un avenir meilleur pour tous. Thank you very much for listening. Merci pour votre attention.
谢谢小娜同学啊，谢谢。小娜是刚才忘介绍了，是我们摩洛哥的摩洛哥现在在武汉大学留学的博士研究生啊。他也是私下跟我交流，是特别钦佩想了解中国的脱贫攻坚的这个事情啊。所以我想，人权的发展、事业发展真的是我们人类共同的一个主题，尤其是发展中国家第一个最重要的一个任务就是摆脱贫穷实现脱贫攻坚啊。好嘞，我们接下来发言的是我们西北政法大学人权研究中心的助理研究员，也是我们的教学科研秘书王舒淇女士，有请舒淇。
各位嘉宾，下午好，我是西北政法大学人权研究中心的王舒淇。我今天要讲的内容是关于残疾人体育权利保障。中国在2023年10月成功举办杭州第4届亚残运会，以亚残运会为契机，杭州全面完善残疾人社会保障制度，构建残疾人关爱服务体系，连续5年把助残类项目纳入政府为民办实事项目中，同时对残疾人进行技能培训，让他们获得一技之长，保障就业优先。在杭州亚残运会，杭州有60名残疾人火炬手，还有数百名残疾人艺术家、表演家、文创工匠参与开闭幕式和亚残运村各类活动，彰显融合、平等、共享。中国14亿多人口整体迈向现代化，残疾人不能掉队。体育对包括残疾人在内的每个人的生活都具有重要价值。残疾人体育是残疾人增强体质、康复身心、参与社会、实现全面发展的有效途径，是人们认识残疾人潜能与价值、促进社会和谐共进的独特渠道。发展残疾人体育对于保障残疾人平等权利、促进残疾人融合发展、推动残疾人共享经济社会发展成果具有重要意义。残疾人体育重在参与，这是残疾人的一项重要权利，是人权保障的重要内容。残疾人体育事业所取得的成就离不开法律的有力保障。近年来，中国残疾人体育事业的法律政策保障更加有力，残疾人康复健身体育和竞技体育的成就非常显著。近年来， 我国颁布实施《残疾预防和残疾人康复条例》，全面建立残疾儿童康复救助制度，持续开展精准康复服务行动，残疾人基本康复服务覆盖率稳定在85%以上，推动残疾人健康水平进一步提升。《残疾人权益保障法》等法律规定，残疾人享有与所有人平等的参与文化体育生活的权利。2023年9月起施行的《无障碍环境建设法》，从设施建设、信息交流、社会服务等方面加强无障碍环境建设，保障残疾人平等、充分、便捷的参与融合社会生活。2023年5月，马拉喀什条约在中国正式生效，阅读障碍者平等获取文化和教育的权利进一步得到保障。目前，我国已形成以宪法为核心、以残疾人保障法为主干、以残疾人教育条例、残疾人预防和残疾人康复条例、残疾人就业条例、无障碍环境建设条例等为重要支撑的残疾人权益保障法律体系。我国也基本形成以体育法为核心、相关体育行政法规、规章及文件为补充的体育法律体系。中国主张加强不同文明交流互鉴，将残疾人体育作为残疾人领域国际友好交流的重要部分。作为体育大国，中国在国际残疾人体育事务中发挥着越来越重要的作用，有力促进了区域和全球残疾人体育发展。中国残疾人体育蓬勃发展，是中国积极履行联合国残疾人权利公约，落实联合国2030年可持续发展议程取得的丰硕成果。中国尊重各国文化、体育和社会制度的多样性，强调国际体育活动和规则的公平正义。中国不附加任何条件，积极向国际残奥委员会发展基金捐款，搭建体育设施资源共享机制，向国外残疾人运动员、教练员开放国家级残疾人体育训练中心。“14·5”残疾人保障和发展规划指出，未来中国将实施残疾人康复健身体育行动，将残疾人作为重点人群纳入全民健身公共服务体系建设，组织残疾人参加各级各类全民健身活动，推动残疾人康复健身体育身边化服务，加强残疾人体育运动保护研究。未来，中国也将提高残疾人事业法治化水平，落实宪法、民法典等法律法规关于保障残疾人权益的规定，健全残疾人权益保障法律法规体系，推动残疾人保障法等法律法规有效实施。谢谢大家。
好，感谢舒淇的发言啊。残疾人包括我们的儿童、妇女啊，这些特殊群体啊，也是我们中国人权保障特别关注的一个部分啊。接下来就是我们正常发言的最后一位啊，就是由我来发言啊。我发言的题目呢是从脱贫攻坚到乡村振兴，中国减贫事业的法律保障。大家知道啊，人类社会其实一直致力从自然中获取资源。随着社会的不断发展，人们获取资源的手段越来越先进，但是贫困仍然是遏制国家发展的最大阻碍。贫困不仅仅意味着部分人群财富的极度短缺，它更是危害整个社会的毒瘤，造成阶级的支差，社会不稳定。所以脱贫攻坚啊，一直都是全人类亟待翻越的高山。那么中国古代将贫困解释为财物极为缺乏的艰难窘迫境况。到了近代，人们开始认为贫困不单单指物质的匮乏，还包括文化、教育、心理等多方面的缺失。世界银行将贫困定义为，贫困不只指物质的匮乏，而且还包括低水平的福利和健康。除此之外，贫困还包括风险和面临风险时的脆弱性，以及不能表达自身的需求和缺乏参与机会。所以贫困从表象上看是物质贫困，从根源上分析，往往伴随着精神上的匮乏。习近平总书记强调人民幸福是最大的人权，发展是实现人民幸福的关键。中国共产党成立103年以来，中华人民共和国成立75周年以来，尤其是中国改革开放46年以来，最大也是最重要的成绩就是脱贫攻坚，也就是14亿人56个民族手拉手走进小康社会。那么这个时间点是2021年的2月25日 我们所有的9899万农村贫困人口全部脱贫，832个贫困县全部摘帽，12.8万个贫困村全部出列，区域性整体贫困得到解决，完成了消除绝对贫困的艰巨任务，也就是2不愁3保障全面实现。那么经中国成为世界上减贫人口最多的国家，也是世界上率先完成联合国1000年发展目标的国家。中国的减贫成就为全球减贫事业做出了重大贡献。那么，国家尊重和保障人权自2004年写进宪法，确定为宪法的一项基本原则。该原则在脱贫攻坚法律保障层面也是长期坚持、全面贯彻、不断发展的。那么，宪法的第45条就规定公民在特定情形下有从国家和社会获得物质帮助的权利，而国家应当为此发展社会保险、救济等事业。实际上就是通过政府宏观调控的调配手段来满足部分贫困群众追求幸福生活的基本权利。我国在1978年以前出现的普遍贫困有很多原因，其中体制设计的缺陷是重要原因。改革开放以来，无论是实行家庭联产承包责任制，还是现代企业制度，核心就是赋予企业或农民或企业自主经营权。那么自主经营权的释放，极大的激发了市场主体的活力，成为我国中国经济长足发展的最深厚的制度基础。你包括农村土地承包法、乡镇企业法等一系列法律法规，把这些改革的成果法制化，构成了我国脱贫攻坚法律制度的保障的重要组成部分。那么为实现脱贫攻坚目标国家还出台了一系列相关的扶贫政策法律，打出组合拳你比如说我们的这个脱贫攻坚的资金渠道，就是政府加大财政扶贫的投入力度，并且保证财政扶贫投入与脱贫攻坚任务相适应金融扶贫对我们的全国贫困户提供扶贫的专项小额贷款此外国家和各省区市普遍实施了脱贫攻坚土地优惠政策，允许贫困县城乡用地增减挂钩指标在省域内流转使用，并且重点支持革命老区、民族地区、边疆地区和连片特困地区的脱贫攻坚工作加快一些交通、水利、电力的互联网这些的基础建设那么除确定衣食住行等方面的基础扶贫政策外，对留守乡村的留守儿童、留守妇女、留守老人和残疾人关爱服务体系也是重中之重其中内蒙古自治区将农村低保对象、特困供养人员、无固定收入无固定生活来源的残疾人和农村留守妇女儿童作为法律援助的重点对象，实现接待、受理、指派、便利4优先。那么和越南接壤的广西崇左市法律不但为贫困户提供了权益保障，同时在当地政法部门的努力下，还不断肃清贪腐的泥垢，扫黑除恶，提高了贫困村县的社会治安水平法律援助作为精准扶贫中的重要组成部分我们西安市陕西省西安市的法律援助中心还将就对这个征地拆迁、安置补偿、农村土地承包纠纷等事项，专门把它纳入到了我们司法行政系统的这个法律援助的范围，建立起动态调整机制，从而能使很多的这个困难群众很方便的享受到法律援助的服务。那么在涉及到资金，尤其是涉农资金扶贫资金这一块，也是全面加强涉农资金的监管，完善财政专项扶贫基金管理办法，同时提高资金使用精确度，是脱贫攻坚完成了一项重点工作那么2021年4月中华人民共和国的乡村振兴法正式公布，那么全国各省区相继出台了乡村振兴条例应该讲 啊，我们说叫脱贫攻坚的2.0版本，乡村振兴正式启动。啊，习近平总书记啊，习近平主席强调，坚持在法治的轨道上推进国家治理体系和治理能力现代化，是实现良法善治的必由之路。那么，人民群众对美好生活的向往就是我们的奋斗目标。我想，中国呀，持续为乡村振兴啊，中国式现代化提供源源不断的提供法律保障的这样的故事啊，每一天都在我们的神州大地不断呈现。也欢迎世界各地的朋友到中国各地走走看看啊，特别也欢迎啊，刚才我们校长也提出邀请啊，欢迎大家到我们陕西十三朝古都西安啊，来我们西北政法大学参观考察啊。我的发言就到这儿，谢谢各位。好，那我再接着主持。